Your intuition about fairness is wrong if it's not validated by data. Right off the bat, I absolutely love starting with this quote. In my years as a consultant, I've seen it hit right at the core of a massive blind spot for HR teams. Look, we all want to be fair, right? We all have the very best of intentions. But good intentions just aren't enough. You can read all about bias, you can understand it intellectually, and you can still run an incredibly biased process. The reality is, if you aren't measuring your outcomes with hard data, your intuition is just a guess. Think about it for a second. How much time and, honestly, how much top-tier talent have you wasted simply because you didn't know how to audit your processes for bias? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to transform those abstract intentions about fairness into concrete, time-saving, and highly effective actions. We're going to walk through a step-by-step investigation to hunt down and eliminate hidden biases in corporate recruiting systems. Think of this as a hands-on guide to treating your workflow exactly like a detective treats a crime scene. We're looking for clues, we're analyzing the data, and we are finding out exactly what is really happening behind the scenes of your hiring decisions.
Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. First, the fairness illusion. Second, mapping the workflow. Third, hunting for hidden disparities. Fourth, from data to action. Fifth, avoiding common audit traps. And finally, building fair hiring systems. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the fairness illusion.
The very first major clue in any audit is understanding a concept called disparate impact. This happens when you have criteria that look perfectly innocent, facially neutral in industry terms, but they actually result in drastically different outcomes depending on the demographic group. For example, requiring 10 years of continuous experience might seem entirely fair on the surface, but it secretly disadvantages women who are statistically far more likely to have taken gaps for caregiving.
On the flip side of that, we have demographic parity. This basically means we're seeing similar advancement rates across all demographic groups. This is your ultimate goal, but getting here requires a major mindset shift for a leader. We absolutely have to move away from assumed fairness, just hoping our process works, to measured fairness, where the cold, hard numbers actually prove it works. Section 2, mapping the workflow. To find the bias, you literally have to document the scene. Here are the first 3 phases of our data collection framework. Phase 1 is all about defining the workflow end-to-end. You need to know exactly how many people go in, what the specific stages are, and who exactly is making those decisions. Phase 2 gets into the demographics. Pull the last 100 hires and rejects. Look at race, gender, age. And hey, while you can't force candidates to share this information, you can thoughtfully use proxies. Finally, Phase 3 is where the magic happens. You calculate the actual advancement rates for those demographic groups at each specific stage.
Section 3, hunting for hidden disparities.
So imagine this real-world scenario. You calculate your advancement rates and find out that 60% of men are making it past the phone screen, but only 40% of women are. You've got a crucial disparity to investigate. This isn't just some quirky statistic. It's a blaring alarm bell telling you exactly where you need to look next. Now, it's really important to understand that a disparity is not immediate proof of malice. Not at all. It's just a signal telling you to dig deeper. That brings us to Phase 4. Auditing the specific stage where that disparity lives. If the phone screen is your problem area, pull the feedback from 10 similar candidates who advanced and 10 who didn't. Are similar behaviors being interpreted differently by your team? Then, in Phase 5, you assess those sources and formulate hypotheses about why this breakdown is happening. As you're building those hypotheses, there are 5 incredibly common hiding spots you need to check. Is your sourcing channel pulling heavily from just one demographic? What about the screening criteria? Are your rating scales being applied inconsistently? I once consulted for a tech firm where the actual interview questions were perfectly fine, but male candidates were frequently given the benefit of the doubt on vague answers, while others were highly scrutinized. I encourage you to look at your own workflow right now. Where is your biggest breakdown occurring?
Section 4, from data to action.
Investigation is great, right? But resolution is what actually moves the needle. In Phase 6, you must develop improvement recommendations, and they have to be highly specific. Don't just say, we need to reduce bias. That doesn't work. Recommend an implementable fix like, we are implementing blind resume screening for all first-stage evaluations. And then Phase 7, document everything. Build a comprehensive report with clear timelines and specific owners. This proves legally that you take fairness seriously, and it acts as your day-to-day operational roadmap.
Section 5, avoiding common audit traps.
Even the most well-intentioned HR professionals stumble into what we call anti-patterns. These are pitfalls that masquerade as good practices. Anti-pattern number 1 is auditing data without context. You see a disparity and immediately shout bias. But wait, you must always check if a disparity is actually explained by a valid, job-relevant factor. For instance, if one group has a significantly higher rate of a highly specialized, legally required certification, well, the numbers will skew, but it's based on qualifications, not bias.
Anti-pattern number 2 is auditing outcomes without auditing the process. This happens when you only look at your final hiring statistics. Sure, it's way easier, but it means you're identifying a problem without ever uncovering the root cause. If you don't examine exactly how the decisions were made at every single stage, you will never actually know how to fix your pipeline.
And anti-pattern number 3. Oh, this is the most frustrating one I see as a consultant. The audit without action. You complete the audit, identify the problems, and then you literally file the report away and change absolutely nothing. An audit feels like action, but let me be incredibly clear. It is just research. Nothing improves unless concrete changes are planned and deployed in the real world alongside the audit.
Section 6. Building fair hiring systems.
So, now that we know what to avoid, how do we weave this into our corporate culture permanently? Here is an extended implementation framework. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start with an assessment to really understand your baseline. Then prioritize your fixes. Go for the absolute highest impact changes first. Step 3 is critical. Pilot the implementation. Try out structured interviews with just one team first. Learn what works, refine it. Finally, once it's proven, scale it across the entire organization so it becomes a standard practice, not just some one-off project.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the illusion of fairness all the way to the exact phases of a rigorous workflow audit. But knowledge is really only powerful if you apply it. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as a leader. Look at your own pipeline. Based on the framework we just walked through, what is one specific measurable change you will make to your recruiting workflow this week? Don't let fairness just be a vague intention. Measure it, find the gaps, and take action. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.